Well, down here at the camp hanging out for a little bit tonight. This video is to talk about hippies, yuppies, radical environmentalists, liberals, and other left-wing nut jobs. And maybe talk to some of you. Maybe there's a few that will actually watch this. Well, you've got what you asked for, it appears, or you're going to get it, or may get it. Right now, President Donald Trump is negotiating with Republican and Democratic Congresspeople, senators, and representatives to raise the legal age to buy a long gun to 21 years old under federal law. And I hope like hell this legislation fails. They're also trying to get stricter background checks. Well, if our bureaucrats have been doing their job, which they're not, the background system wouldn't really be a big deal, because we've had those for 25 years. We've also had a mandated 3-day wait on buying a handgun. That was under the Brady bill passed under the Clinton administration. That also brought us such things as restrictions to 10-round magazines. And that's all well and good for our hippies and left-wing nut jobs and liberals. They think they're getting something. You might want to read that bill very carefully, because what that bill is going to allow in its what they're currently negotiating for is also to usurp the Constitution, the Bill of Rights in another way. The Fourth Amendment rights. They can just come right in without any probable cause and demand that you give up your firearms. And they would say, oh, that's great. Guess what? If they can do that with one thing, they can do it with another. What a lot of folks don't realize is the Second Amendment is the breech pin. What guarantees our rights under the United States Bill of Rights, which are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. Second Amendment falls, there goes the rest of them. Just a matter of time. Back in the 60s, we had hippies, and they wanted to protest, smoke dope, and talk bad about their country. And now, in 2018, we have the children and grandchildren of the hippies that don't believe that the United States of America is a great nation. And they believe we ought to become either a socialist or communist country. You know what the difference is between socialism and communism? Not a damn thing. Your choice of dictatorship that you're going to be under then is chosen for you. This precious right to free speech that y'all want to wave under everybody's nose, guess what? Bye-bye. Freedom of religion, or in some cases, some people's freedom from religion, gone. Freedom of the press. Media will print what that dictator tells them to print. They'll go on the TV and tell you what they want you to hear. There goes your First Amendment. Because you chose to attack the Second Amendment. Speak out against it. You can do that now. Well, in most cases, you would have your choice. Be publicly executed, thrown into prison, or maybe just disappear and nobody knows what happened to you. That happens under these regimes, like Castro, Stalin, Hitler. What's the problem? We don't teach history anymore because a lot of it's politically incorrect. We don't teach the Civil War anymore because we're afraid we're going to hurt somebody's feelings. We don't talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis anymore because we're afraid we're going to hurt somebody's feelings, that we're going to offend somebody. We don't talk about the Vietnam War because we're afraid we're going to hurt some poor little flower child's grandsons or daughters' feelings. You've chosen to attack somebody else's rights, and you're going to end up losing your own. Isn't that a hell of a contradiction? But I'm going to say some things, and I'm really fixing to hurt some feelings. But number one, I find it therapeutic to get some things off of my chest. And if you can agree with me, that's fine. If you don't agree with me, that's fine too. If you're offended, that's right. Be offended. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen after you're offended. You're just going to be offended. Some things you may agree with, some things you won't. From our hippies and yuppies, hippies started out saying, hey, I can do whatever I want to do as long as I don't hurt anybody. Now these yuppies, other left-wing nuts say, if you don't agree with me, you're a racist, a xenophobe, and something else. Okay? First of all, anybody that knows me knows I'm not a racist. As far as a xenophobic misogynist, I don't even know what the hell those words mean. I don't think I do, and I'm pretty sure whoever's calling me that absolutely doesn't. They're just buzzwords that somebody's heard. And they choose to repeat them. Why the hell can't you find some easier words to repeat? Our nation's history is not always pretty. It's not always easy to look at. But if we don't look at our mistakes, we're doomed to make them again. Have we made mistakes? Yes, because we're a nation full of human beings. We are fallible. Even the greatest men in this nation have made mistakes. Yes, that means everybody. The random attacks that the leftist, radical, wannabe hippie liberals have been using the most is, you're a racist. You don't agree with me. You're a racist. First of all, I'm going to tell you, you probably don't know what real racism is. That's just the way it is. You know, you don't read enough in your history books to understand it. But you heard somebody say it, and it's a buzzword, so you're going to use it. And when somebody disagrees with you, you can't shut up and agree to disagree, or maybe concede the fact that maybe they have a good point. You immediately go to call them a racist and other names. It's radical left-wing stuff. They say, well, we think communism would give us a utopia. Go to talk to some of those people that live behind the Iron Curtain in Europe. See how happy they were with communism. They were so happy with it, they overthrew it. It collapsed on itself. Socialism, for those of you who don't know, Nazi Germany, the 30s and 40s, roughly translates to the People's Socialist Party. That's right. Hitler was a socialist. He was also a dictator. And he was also a madman. Do you want to equate a legally elected president to Hitler in his Holocaust? You'll go along with anything that supports what you want to believe, whether it's factual or not. A lot of people are saying, oh, Trump's in the KKK. He's no more a KKK member than Al Sharpton. Oh, he sympathizes with them. Don't think so. But you'll go along and you'll spread that trash, even though you're knowingly spreading false rumors and defaming a man's character, because it's what you want to hear. And some of y'all are so damn backwards, knowing it's a lie, you'll believe it anyway, because it's what you want to hear. People that disagreed with President Obama come out there and say, you're a racist if you disagree. Now, if you agree with Trump, you're a racist. Okay. Don't know how many people of other skin tones have you sat down and had dinner with in the last 10 years? How many people of different races or religions have you had a drink with or invited to your house or anything like that? Gee, I probably just put a mirror up in front of a lot of people with that statement that they can't stand to look at. But you're going to have to look at it. Protesting out in the street, that's really interesting. I've yet to see a protest do much. Maybe what you ought to do is run for public office, and the changes you want to see, try to actually get them done. Maybe instead of protesting in the streets, you ought to develop something that will make society better. The most humorous protest I can admit that I have seen by a really weird son of a gun up there, state capitol in Tallahassee. Was a guy protesting. I can't believe I'm fixing to say this. He was protesting to stop people from circumcising their children. But on several occasions, I have seen him up there holding a sign. Critical of our law enforcement. In particular, this is for the Black Lives Matter group. And a lot of the wingnuts that associate with them. I have yet to see anybody from one of these groups that has actually had the courage to put on a uniform and a badge and work in law enforcement. In any capacity. A lot of the protest, has caused a lot of bureaucrats to put a lot of restrictions on law enforcement in place. Particularly when we're talking about who they hire. One time in law enforcement, they would not hire you unless you were a combat veteran. That means you had been under stress and you could handle it. Now in this touchy-feely world, people are saying, oh, the combat veterans are, nut jobs. Because they've seen a different side of the world and a different side of humanity than you have, and been exposed to that, and in some cases seen the very worst in people, and in some cases seen the very best in people. That doesn't make them nut jobs. Not by a long shot. It means they have some real world experience. Instead, we'll give a 19-year-old kid a minimum of training, not nearly enough with the firearms, because it's not politically correct to do so. And we'll put him on the street and expect him to act perfectly every time in every situation. I can't speak for every department across the country. I can speak for most of them here in Florida. As a rule, you get less than 1 week of training with firearms. About 40 hours. Every year you get another 8 hours worth of training. Most of it spent in the classroom. Going over range protocol. Then you go out to the range, you shoot 25 rounds. If you hit 80%, which is 20 rounds, on a silhouette target, you're qualified. You need no more training. We expect these people to be able to perform at a high level with the minimum training that we're willing to fund for them. Because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Okay, life and death, that's a little bit more than hurting somebody's feelings. I can already hear it now. Oh, you've attacked Black Lives Matter. You're a racist. No, I'm just speaking the truth. Our leftists have gotten rid of any moral compass. Because whatever they want to do is all right. Because of that, we have no moral standards. They don't even want you to mention God. Now, I'm not one to tell a man how to believe or what kind of God to believe in. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't think he's really happy with us right now. The mess we've made for ourselves. Years ago, some idiot who was later found decapitated, Maureen Madeline O'Hare, decided she was going to protest and go to court for her son's right to not pray in school. Guess what? Today that little boy grew up to be a minister. Another thing that I'm going to talk about and get off my chest. Hippies are all for the right to free speech until you disagree with them. Then they'll say you're the most hateful person that they've ever met because you disagree with them. They'll attack your character. And they'll attack you for things that you've never even done in your life and beliefs you don't even hold. Really interesting. And I thought they were supposed to be all about peace and love and smoking dope and tolerance and everything else. No. No, what you find underneath it is a bunch of self-centered, hate-filled people that if they can't get their way, they're going to throw a temper tantrum. And they're going to say, well, things shouldn't be like this. I'm going to tell you this. I've seen a lot of good men die young. I've seen a lot of bad things in this life happen to good people. Shouldn't have been like that. But that's how it was. And to a large part, that's how it is. Life is not fair. We deal with it the best way we can. We make what we can of it. So for all my little snowflakes who have heard this and are probably going to melt, I offer you this challenge. Rather than attacking somebody else because of this inward meanness you have, maybe you ought to get off your ass and contribute to society in some form or fashion. Later on.